You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Infinite diversity.
And prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN Podcast Collective. I'm your host for today, Chrissie, and joining me is my co-host, Thad. Thad, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. Just hoping that I get through this court case without getting sent to jail.
That's good. Yeah. So then also joining us today is Jason Anderson to... not coin a phrase, but to use a phrase, he's not a lawyer, but he plays one in books. Also is one of the runners of the Federation Facebook group. It's just the Federation. And in the real world, he's a legal advocate for victims' rights, which is why we have him on today. Jason, welcome. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining us.
I am doing excellent today. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
All right. Cool. We're excited to have you. But before we get into that, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make this show possible, particularly our associate producer, Carl Wonders. Listeners, you can hear your name listed as one of our associate producers for a monthly subscription of just $10 at patreon.com/BQN. And with a monthly Patreon subscription of just $5 or more, you can join our meetings of the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. Watch your Patreon messages for details. Particularly watch those because this month we pushed it off a week so that people could talk Strange New Worlds. So sometimes it's not on the second Saturday, but it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. News. Do you want to go with the heavy news first or the smaller news first?
Let's do the smaller news first because it'll get lost once we talk about the heavy news.
Agreed. Agreed.
We have talked about in the past about how worried we were that we might not get any more Star Trek novels. Well, we're still getting them in far fewer numbers than we would like, but they did announce a new Picard novel coming out next February called Firewall by David Mack. It will be about 7 of 9's life between Voyager and the start of Picard, so that should be very interesting.
Yeah.
We need that fill-in.
Yeah, and they've got to do that with the. Well, actually, no. They could do a Picard novel whenever they want now because Picard's over. But
true.
They do that with the new series. They're always set before stuff that we've seen, so that they're not stepping on the toes of the producers,
the writers. Yeah, is that supposed to be like with the Rangers when
yes.
she's in? Yeah, that makes sense.
And another thing, we already knew about this a while ago, but Andrew Robinson recorded an audiobook of A Stitch in Time, his Star Trek novel about the life of Garak, and we finally have a release date. It is coming out on August 1st of this year, so that's exciting. I really hope it does well and convinces Simon & Schuster to make audiobooks of a lot of their other novel back catalog. I'm also personally excited for this because I am going to Trek Conderoga in mid-August, and that is a 7-hour drive, and that'll be a great time to listen to this audiobook.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And a couple more, probably. That's a great book.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I remember. I think I read that a long time ago, but it's really good.
It is a really good book, yeah. I read it when it came out, so I'm looking forward to diving in again because I truly don't remember too much about it at this point.
I hope they do a re-release of the hard copy, too.
Well, that would be nice. That one is one that costs hundreds of dollars if you want to buy one today.
Oh, yeah, they need to do a republication of the,
Thankfully, you can buy the ebook for normal ebook prices, but yeah, if you want
I love ebooks for that reason.
Copy, it is hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing that too, and I'll be interested. I read it when it came out, so I wouldn't be able to know without rereading it, but I'll be interested to know if he made any changes. I don't imagine he would have changed a lot because, then it'd be like, second edition or something.
Right.
But
Plus, it's not like he's been doing a lot of things as Garrick since to have changes that would come to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That was published after the show was over,
Correct.
though, right?
Came out in
Okay,
2000,
so it would be
I
only
believe.
only if he wanted to like work in anything. Well, he was very prominent in a recent Picard novel, so if he wanted to address that,
He was.
but yeah, but actually that could be after he wrote the book, so that works out anyway.
Oh, that's
That
that one
was
I
the-
still need
Have
to
to be
read.
after he
isn't
wrote
it?
the book.
The one from
Oh.
last year.
It's with Raffi.
Yeah.
It's mainly Raffi,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah, I
then
need to read that one still.
Elnor.
Oh, then I'll shut up. Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It
No
makes
spoilers.
sense though, because that's an Una McCormick novel, and I know she loves Garrick, so it makes sense that she would bring him in on that one.
I had questions, but anyway. So that's a good piece of news, and books are a good piece of news.
Yep.
And then yesterday, not yesterday, it was 3 days ago.
Friday. Yes.
Yeah.
Sad news.
Prodigy's canceled, but not only canceled, it's going to be pulled.
Yep, they're pulling an
And-
HBO.
Not really canceled because they're still shopping around for somebody else to air it, and I don't know what the hell is going on here, but it makes no sense.
Yeah, so
Thoughts?
Paramount is taking a tax write-off on Prodigy. They are canceling it. They are pulling the existing episodes from streaming. The truly frustrating part about this is that only the first 10 have ever been released on a physical form. So once this happens, you cannot legally watch the second half of season 1 anywhere. And they've completely canceled it. They're not going to be producing season 2. Season 2 has already been, the voice acting has already been recorded. It's been well into post-production. Paramount themselves announced just 2 months ago that it was coming this fall. So thankfully, it's not just getting shoved away in a vault. It's never to see the light of day. It might see the light of day. The studio is
They're shopping it around.
actually
aren't they?
is given the option to shop it around to other producers to see if they'll do it. Unfortunately, in this current climate, I don't have a lot of hope for that, because all the streamers are tightening their belts. They're canceling things. I don't see too many people wanting to jump on this.
I mean, I guess maybe, I don't know. I'm certainly not an entertainment insider or anything, but with the writer's strike, depending on how long that goes, this is already written. So maybe if they need stuff, it's already, they just need to do it.
Well, yes and no, because yes, this is already written, but also the writer's strike doesn't apply to animated shows. So
it doesn't at all. Oh,
no, that's
good.
a separate union. So
But if they really need content, that's
Right.
what I'm hoping for.
well,
is that
you'd
they will be
think
like, we already have
Paramount
this.
would want to do that.
You would
But
think. Yeah.
So, do we have any understanding as to why they didn't just announce that Prodigy will be over after season 2,
because
as opposed to what they did?
their fiscal year ends in June 30th. If they can pull it, they can then do it as a tax write-off.
Yeah, I was going to say it has to be something contractual, because removing it from the platform is a statement, that has to be,
It's funny
legal.
because they're still actually doing ads that say that Paramount Plus is the
Mobile
place
track.
for every series, every episode, and that's well,
they
technically
can.
still true for the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
couple days.
5 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is extremely frustrating. Listeners, if you want to hear me ranting about this even more, I was on this week's episode of Weekly Trek with Alex Perry, and we talked about this extensively, and we're both very angry because we recorded it a few hours after the announcement came out.
You and a lot of people, I think. So.
Yes, I am still extremely angry. This is extremely frustrating. Paramount did this show dirty from the beginning because it was never marketed. It was on Paramount Plus, which is not somewhere kids are going for their content. The only kids who were watching this were kids whose parents are Star Trek fans and
I was
subscribe
going
to
to say
Paramount
kids
Plus.
with, Star Trek fan adults in the house. Yeah.
They did eventually air the first 10 episodes on Nickelodeon, but they moved the time slot around. It was not a consistent schedule. They never aired the second 10 episodes on Nickelodeon. It was only on Paramount Plus. The reasons
That I had forgotten.
the reasons they cited for this is that it was not performing well. Well, it's entirely their freaking fault that it's not performing well because they never marketed it to its intended audience. Chrissie and I were both at Star Trek Mission Chicago last year. They had a big Prodigy panel. They had a bunch of kids came up to do Q&A talking about their favorite characters and how much they love the show. This show was a hit with the kids who actually got to see it. But most kids didn't even know it existed. And I can say it was a hit with this adult. I loved the show. And I am very, very frustrated with all of the streaming services when they pull their shows and then it's no longer available anywhere to watch. HBO did it with Westworld. Disney did it with a bunch of shows.
I didn't realize Westworld was off. Damn, okay.
Yeah,
you
as,
can't even watch
like
it.
a month or two
Never
after
seen
the
the rest of
final season, which wasn't originally supposed to be the final season, they canceled it and pulled it from the show. You cannot, thankfully you can buy it on Blu-ray if you want to, but you can't
I don't like it that much.
stream it. Yes, I bought the first season on Blu-ray because I honestly believe that Westworld should only ever have been a one-season show.
Yeah, the first season was phenomenal for sure. Yeah.
But that's beside the
Just a
point.
little bit.
Disney did it with Willow and a bunch of other things. It's not.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating because these shows then become impossible to watch, especially the Disney shows. Disney doesn't release any of their stuff on physical media anymore. I mean, they do movies, but none of their streaming shows. And I really hope Paramount's going to release the second half of season 1 of Prodigy on Blu-ray, but we don't know that.
Yeah. I mean, Anson Mount literally today just, retweeted, call, for Paramount to please change their mind. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's
sad.
I think that that new golden age of Star Trek has definitely lost its luster. If they're gonna do this, I don't think we can be 100% secure that any of the other shows are going to continue much longer. It depends. There was also an article earlier this week by an insider who was claiming that Paramount is rapidly losing money and only has a couple years left at the current rate. So now we'll see if that's true.
Right.
That may be entirely fake. But
yeah. This is just maybe devil's advocate type statement, but there were a lot of Star Trek shows on all at once, so I'm still just happy that we have the ones we have.
And I would have been sad, but understanding if they had said, okay, after season 2, Prodigy is over.
Right. Yeah,
would be
a bad way.
I would accept that. What I don't accept is, this season that's almost completely produced, we're not going to show you. And guess
just
what?
kidding.
You can't watch the first season anymore either.
That is
total crap.
Yeah. I'll just go on the record. I am behind on Prodigy. I've seen part of season 1, but I guess I better hurry up if I'm going to do any of the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm sad.
I will always say that there is no ethical reason not to pirate something you can't legally acquire. So,
yes,
if you want the second half of season 1 of Prodigy, it is definitely available in the usual places.
Other places. Yeah. Not on Paramount Plus. Yeah.
Places that might be frequented by people like Jesse James Keitel's character. Whose name escapes me, and that would have been better if I could have thought of their name, but that's okay.
Angel.
Angel, thank you. Places frequented by people like Angel, as we saw in Strange New Worlds.
Yar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Captain Angel.
Yes. Yeah.
Sad news.
This is twice, and this is worse than the first time they did this to us this year. But this is twice, and did they not pay attention to what happened the first time? I mean, with the outcry, like what is wrong with you? Just canceling this without warning.
Yeah, no warning.
Yeah, imagine if they had done it this way with Discovery, though, how huge that outcry would have been.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
If they had
Like
said,
it already...
we've already shot season 5, but you're never going to see it, and
Just
you can't watch
kidding.
the first 4 seseasons either.
Yeah, I
it
mean,
would have
at
been-
least, this is worse than that. So, but you'd think, I don't understand that this does nothing but make money for them.
Yep.
It's especially once it's done, right? I mean, like, at this point, how much do they have to pay to have it sitting on a server and available for streaming?
And the argument is residuals, but that doesn't apply as much for animation. Writers do not get residuals on animated episodes. There are still some residuals to go to some insurance and pension funds, but writers do not get royalty residual payments for animated shows.
I was gonna say, I can't imagine even, like, if they had residuals for all the voice actors, it's not going to be so much that it's worth not having on the damn service.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one of those things. I wish we could, like, see what all of the download numbers were for everything that's on that service, so we could be like, see, here's these things that you've hosted for 5 years that literally no one's ever watched.
Mm-hmm.
Versus...
Yeah. I mean, are really as many people watching the, like, 7 different Yellowstone spin-offs that they've done compared to
Not me.
Star Trek?
Not me, but maybe I'm
I don't know.
anomaly.
My father's watched them twice, but that's...
I'm not saying people aren't watching them. I'm just saying
No,
I think there's more people watching Star Trek.
I think so.
Because I'll be honest, I don't know anyone who subscribes to Paramount Plus who is not doing it for Star Trek.
Yep.
If I talk to people who are outside of this fandom, they're not Paramount Plus subscribers.
No. I subscribed when CBS All Access started with the knowledge that they were going to have the Trek stuff, but also so that I could watch Colbert. But it was like, it was only, I wouldn't have done it for just Colbert.
Right.
Because I wanted to be able to pull up Colbert on my phone while I was at the office instead of having to DVR it. And that's,
And you knew Star Trek was coming, right?
Yeah.
Right, and that would have been it. I wouldn't have bothered otherwise, but... a lot of people saying that they're going to drop the subscription between seasons of stuff that they actually want to watch.
Yeah.
Don't do that, because that's going
seasons,
to make it worse.
If you're dropping between seasons, no, I mean, I support people dropping subscriptions between seasons in general because, money is tight. But...
Well, of course, yeah. But if you can afford to not.
What I saw is a bunch of people saying, "Oh, I'm gonna drop subscription now." Like, no, that is a terrible idea. That's how you get Strange New Worlds canceled. Don't do that.
Right.
Don't wait until after Lower Decks season 4 is out, and then cancel your subscription until the next Star Trek comes on.
And this, I hope this doesn't happen with Lower Decks.
Yeah.
I
think Lower Decks probably costs less to make. Just because of because of Prodigy's 3D animation, I think it probably costs considerably more per episode to make Prodigy, and I think Lower Decks is more popular. Because Paramount plus Star Trek fans are the target audience for Lower Decks. Whereas kids are the target audience of Prodigy, and they just aren't watching Paramount Plus.
I wonder... Probably not. It probably would not end up showing up randomly on the Star Trek channel on Paramount Plus.
Probably not, no.
Because if they don't have it in the system to stream, they don't have it in the system to...
No, and I'm just wondering, who do you think would even be willing to take the show on? Because... it would have to be someone who's gonna show it to kids. So, like, the first thought is Disney, the big family here. But there's no way Disney is greenlighting a Star Trek show when they've got Star Wars. That's just not happening.
Yeah, and I don't want Disney touching this. But what's
on the other hand? No, Disney's doing Doctor Who now, so maybe they might. They are? Yeah, Disney is funding Doctor Who, and it's going to be stream exclusively on Disney in the US, the new season.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
So now that I
wow.
say that, maybe Disney is willing to do more than multiple sci-fi franchises.
Yeah.
I think Disney's happy to take anything that will give them money.
Right.
And considering that this is mostly done,
Maybe
they would only have to pay for the, putting it up somewhere, which is why I don't understand why, like, Nickelodeon isn't stepping in on this, and that's because they're owned by Paramount.
Yeah.
I get that.
Well, I think Nickelodeon, the people at the Nickelodeon division of Paramount probably never wanted this show. I think it was... I mean, why else did it go on Paramount Plus first? Why else did we never get the second half on Nickelodeon?
I don't know. What's wrong with people?
Yeah. Disney or Netflix, I think, or I guess Amazon might. Disney, Netflix, and Amazon are really the only big choices that I can think of that would have, the audience for it. I know... Yeah. I mean, Amazon might. Jeff Bezos is a big Star Trek fan, actually. That's why Lower Decks and Picard streamed on Amazon internationally, because he really wanted them to. So...
I don't know if I want Jeff Bezos to save a Star Trek show.
Yeah.
I don't
make you feel weird inside?
Yeah. You're like, oh.
I mean, also, Amazon did it with The Expanse several years ago after Sci-Fi canceled it.
No, that's true.
Yeah, they did swoop in.
Yeah. But Hulu's Disney now, right? Yeah, so
yes.
That would be... Yeah. And I guess, Warner has a bunch of kids stuff.
Yeah, but they canceled a ton of them. HBO has been canceling all their kids' stuff, so I don't see that happening.
Who owns YouTube?
Google. But they don't do they don't do their own programming anymore. They briefly flirted with that with YouTube Red for a while, but it was not a success.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like any company that picks this up is just going to make money off of it.
Yeah, probably.
There's no... This is...
Well, if they have...
There's no money that they have to put into it for the creation of it.
Well, there's still some money probably for the post-production, but...
Right.
Okay, but,
Maybe Disney picks it up just for the new subscribers, like you said. It's already almost done. I don't know. Hopefully, somebody...
If Disney, selfishly, if Disney picks it up, then we'll probably never get a season 2 Blu-ray, and that's I don't want that.
Yeah. Although, the lure of a box set of here's all of Prodigy might be enough.
Maybe.
Of course. If Paramount, how would that even work? Because Paramount would own it, but they'd be licensing it.
So Paramount would still own the Star Trek property, but Star Trek Prodigy they would no longer own. That would be that particular show in Star Trek would belong to whoever bought it. So I don't think Paramount would be
technically only the second season.
Well, no, the first season too. That's why they pulled it. They're shopping both seasons together.
That makes sense.
See, that's another thing that they could have done if they didn't want to keep doing. They could have pulled the second season. They could have canceled the second season, but kept the first season up. That is a very common practice when a show gets when a streamer has a show. Like Netflix has a bunch of old shows, and then a different thing will have the latest season. That's very common. They could have kept doing that. They could have kept season 1. The real thing that just really irks me on this is that they're pulling all of the episodes and they're no longer available.
It has to be some sort of contract. I don't know. They must make a lot of money, like you said, in the IRA through write-offs to do it. I don't know. Because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. They aren't producing any more Next Generation, but you can watch all the old ones, There has to be a reason. I don't know. But...
Listeners, we're happy to hear from whistleblowers. We can just report what we hear. We won't record your voice.
Yeah, anybody that wants...
Anybody works for them.
I like how last time you the last episode that you recorded, you asked for those aliens that the chief engineer, what are they called? Like Lagosian?
Lanthanites, yeah.
Lanthanites, yeah.
Lanthanite.
Reveal yourselves.
We have not yet had a
Call in.
Lanthanite reach out to us, but
Yeah.
Nope.
You haven't had anybody reach out.
not yet.
No.
Too bad.
I'm
Maybe
hoping.
they're just looking for the number.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. More people have to find out about us. More listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Listeners, if you're playing around with a tablet at a store, just download all of the BQN podcasts on it. And stick a nice little icon on the front of it so that people go, "Oh, what's that?" People don't do that anymore. I don't even know why. Anyway.
Right.
Well, do we want to talk about Strange New Worlds?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Love to.
Strange New Worlds ad Astra per Aspera, keeping the long tradition of Latin titles, which is wonderful. Through adversity to the stars, as we had already discussed, and of course Una translates for us. I thought that was funny because don't they have a universal translator? But whatever. Latin is so dead in the 23rd century that not even the universal translator
Oh,
bothered
come
with
on. You know there's some planet where they just speak Latin because they're weird like that.
it. Yeah, the one that they came across with the bread and circuses.
That's true!
I've always had questions about the universal translator in this way because it seems like if you're intentionally speaking a different language, it doesn't pick it up. You know what I mean? But
Takes tone, maybe.
Yeah.
Or it recognizes commonly used phrases.
Right. And there are a lot of commonly, when I was in middle school, they called
yeah.
them wonder words, and they were foreign phrases that had made it into, like deja vu and like a lot of, into the vernacular. But anyway, sorry. Wonder words.
Cool. No, don't be sorry. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So, initial thoughts, Jason.
I thought it was fantastic. And I actually I watched it late. And so I had seen a lot of reviews going through my social media feeds, and everyone I talked to talked about, like, I knew they were referring to this episode because I knew that you guys had asked me to be on this, and just several people, like, I've never cried in a courtroom drama, just people loved it. And I actually really liked it as well. I got teary-eyed several times. I think it was great Star Trek, just pulled at your heartstrings. Yeah, I loved it. What did you guys think?
Dad?
I also loved it. I thought it was a fantastic episode of Star Trek. It's been a long time since we've had a good courtroom drama episode of Star Trek.
That's true.
If we're specifically going to say Federation or Starfleet courtroom, we're going all the way back to Voyager Season 7, Author.
The drumhead is, I think, the actual shit that took me on my trek to do what I do now, because
Oh, cool.
Literally, I watched it recently and I was like, I love this thought process so much. I think it's really what put me in love with the law. I'm not just saying that. I really believe that.
That's a better episode than Author, so let's go with that.
Okay. Yeah, such a good, it's such an important episode about, just the power dynamics of, the criminal justice system. And,
it's like one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek. Just full stop. Not just
I think it is my favorite.
Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah. But this was also a really, really good legal episode. I believe.
Yeah.
I liked it. Beautifully done. I have some issues with the resolution, which we'll get into. So, and that we're supposed to have issues with the resolution.
Yes.
I get that. But yeah.
I appreciate that in the resolution they managed to make it so that it still makes sense inside existing canon from what we've seen in shows that take place much later that were filmed much sooner.
Absolutely. Yes, I understand why they had to do the resolution the way they did, but it just... All right, well, so Pike was barely in the last episode. Actually, I found out, I don't remember where I heard it, but listeners probably heard it already, but the reason that we had a Pikeless episode was because that was when the
baby
the baby was born. I was about to say son or daughter, and I can't remember if he has a son or daughter.
I think it's a daughter.
I think it's a daughter.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, so that
When
was
they were born,
really
we'll say that.
That was when his baby was born, and that's why he was gone. That makes sense, right?
Yeah. They scheduled to have an episode that he was not in, and then it could be slotted in as, and then it turned out they were going to use it for the first one because that's how it fell out for the schedule. So
that's actually because you guys commented in the last episode so much about like it's weird to have the first episode of a season with less captain, but now it makes sense.
Yeah. So we start with him. You know, he's doing his thing while Spock is stealing the Enterprise, and he is off to find Nira. I think we got a last name for her.
Yeah, there is.
But Nira, I called her Nira Esquire, but
in the notes. Yeah, no, I looked it up before, and now I can't find where I had it, but I'll look it up again.
Yeah. And he's going to convince her to take the case. So what do we think about her, about the idea of having her come into the case, what her relationship with Una might have been ahead of this?
Nira Ketoul, Ketoul is her name.
There we go. So if we're first going to talk about Nira's relationship with Una was before, I definitely was getting some major chemistry between them.
I was like, were they together before?
Yeah.
And they did it all. I mean, it was like halfway through before you found out anything about their backstory, right? And I totally was getting the same vibes. I was like, is this a ex-girlfriend? What
I definitely felt like if they weren't, there certainly was some tension between them back in the day. But I feel like they probably were together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that kind of handhold that was just held a little longer than
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think you're right on that.
Yeah, and it was her cousin that the story was about. That got arrested at age 10 or whatever, I believe, which they never really said, but on the Memory Alpha page it says that she has a cousin, and they were.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it says her cousin Ivan was subjected to persecution after his Illyrian ancestry was discovered, and I thought the way they did that, it was clear. Una was saying, I should have, should have said something, should have done something then, and I didn't, or whatever. Yeah, that backstory was interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's all sorts of reasons for her not to want to get involved, and of course, Pike appeals to the, hey, this works for what you're trying to do. So I hope we see more of her and these efforts toward Illyrian civil rights, but I don't think we will. I
actually had that exact same thought. I hope we see her again because she was phenomenal, this actress. Yetide Badaki. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Please forgive me if I'm not. But I also thought when he did that was masterful, because I work with a lot of attorneys, and going either after their reputation or their ego is the way to get what you need from attorneys, and I appreciated that a lot, because that's how you have to that's always a safer bet.
Yes. So we know that she's hostile to Starfleet, and so she's gonna come help. We don't find that out until she shows up, but she's gonna come help. And in the meantime, we find out that some of what Una went through, and the fact that she's being offered this plea deal. Now we see the flashback where she's broken her leg, and it appears to be a compound fracture, which looks absolutely terrible.
And
but
infected.
It's glowy and healing and infected.
I think that was the infection, and they. But yeah, that looked awful.
Yeah, good on the makeup people on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have that little bit, and we're going to come back to that because she talks about it, and she's offered plead guilty. We'll give you a dishonorable discharge, but we won't put you in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she refuses. And then they increase the charges.
In my line of work, that's a probation-only offer. No jail. Sometimes it's credit time served, so you're literally only taking the conviction and you're not doing any time or anything like that for it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I did think...
Which that makes sense, because they want to brush her... They want her out of the way, out of the news, out,
quietly. Yeah, I agree. And I actually thought, I don't know if you were going to talk about this in context of the plea bargain, but the part where she rejects the plea bargain and they add charges,
Yes.
I thought that might strike people as maybe untrue, or how could they do that? But technically the prosecution does have the right to add or remove charges up until like the day of trial. So that was actually pretty authentic. When I watched that, I was like, oh, that's good, because they can do that. They shouldn't do it just as a penalty for not taking a plea bargain, which I think was kind of how they did it in this. They can, though. They can change or add charges up until the point of the day of trial. So
that's good to know that there's some authenticity there.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense, because if they do want to sweep her under the rug and she's refusing to do it, well, then if we have to be public about this, we're going to throw, every book at you.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. Right. So then, so Nero shows up. We get a great speech about the problems that happen for Illyrians who cannot pass. Mm-hmm. And we get this speech coming out of the mouth of a black woman who would never have passed.
Right.
And I think that was a beautiful piece of commentary with her. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's historian in me.
I mean, there's
and then when
definitely, that's definitely there, but I think we're also looking at an allegory for LGBT as well.
So, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was hoping we would talk about this, because I thought they did a great job, I think, of not nailing it, not like making it super obvious which group they were talking about, and they made it more universal, like all groups, which, clearly in this context, it's the Illyrians, but the analogy, I don't think, was for a specific group, and I thought there were many times, as a homosexual person myself, where I was like, I can totally relate with all of this. The interesting part that I thought, because I didn't know, they were making it seem as if Nero would not pass as human, that she would only be Illyrian, but I didn't think that we had any context for that. So that part was the only question I had, like, why didn't her family, maybe other members of her family could not pass, I don't know, in quotes, pass, so in context with the Illyrianism, I was like, oh, okay, but I thought they did a really good job throughout the episode of not making us think it was one specific group, but relating it to all groups who have been persecuted or discriminated against, or I thought that was really well done.
And I think just because it's in the news so much lately, it very much felt prescient to the current stuff about trans people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'll get into another allegory that I think they put in here. And I don't know if it was intentional or not, but we shall see. She goes through the whole list.
Mm-hmm.
In the courtroom, she talks about slavery and apartheid and gender discrimination and sexuality discrimination
LGBT,
and all. Yeah, there's a whole list. And what I caught from that, and of course, if we are reading them as ex-lovers, then that's in it anyway. But I thought it was interesting because she goes through the list and she talks about slavery and apartheid, and we see the camera goes to Mbenga and goes to Noonien Singh, and then April is the next one up on the stand. So we have, this is two black people and a woman who's been, part of this group that's persecuted for nothing that she has actually actively done, just for what her family had done. But I didn't catch that. But of course, that makes sense that there's the allegory for that too. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, next, looking at the outline, you had Admiral Pasalk, which if we could talk about that for a second, because that was really interesting. I assume based on that, we'll see him again because it mentioned Sarek, right? And it also, talks about like how much Spock and this Admiral hate each other. And obviously that was for a little bit of, I thought, levity and comic relief, right? But also, they did so much on it.
I'm
like,
sorry you had to see that.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to see that display, But anyway, I just thought maybe he'll be back because he seems to be a villainous Vulcan,
Maybe. I get where they were going with the levity there, and I think it was really funny how she was just kind of narrating, but it also felt a little bit prejudiced.
Ortega, okay,
yeah.
Ortega has some points by which she did that with when they first saw the Vulcans on that episode you kept referencing last time, or the Romulans, that they looked so much like the Vulcans, but she seems to have some issues with that, and they're keeping that, I guess.
Yeah.
And I realize she's doing the equivalent of like what would be a what we would now think of an inappropriate joke about, go down the list of that type of joke that might have been appropriate, if you heard on Mad Men, right?
Yeah.
Or even in the 80s or something, but that isn't appropriate then. But it gives us a chance to see that M'Benga is very skilled in dealing with Vulcans.
Yeah.
Which is a piece of his background that I don't know if it was, he was supposed to be the Vulcan specialist that was on TOS. I can't remember if any of that really came up on Strange New Worlds yet. But it does, it lays that groundwork. Because if he can read Vulcans that well, he has spent time with them, and he has spent time, working with them beyond just Spock. That was interesting.
As a side note from M'Benga, I mean, they are really fleshing him out as a character, I feel like. I mean, and I know you guys did talk about it last week for the season premiere.
Doesn't mean we can't, though.
Yeah, he's apparently a medical spy, or a medical, I was like, what is...
He's a warrior doctor.
Yeah, he's a warrior, battle doctor or something. I don't know. Yeah.
I hope we get that story. I want to know why and how that all came to be.
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
Maybe he's Section 31. Who knows?
Maybe he'll be in the Section 31 movie.
Who knows?
If that actually happens.
That would explain, because we were talking about how does he go from being the chief medical officer to still being on the ship and he's not the CMO. If he gets pulled by Starfleet security, then that's why.
He's certainly got the skills we've learned in last episode.
And he's lost the family ties.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they got rid of him.
His daughter's living in a nebula.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, going back to the trial here, Nira grills April about the Prime Directive.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about how that played out?
I've always had this issue, and I guess I was thinking about when I thought it was really well done about her point about when they decide to follow the rules and when they just forget about it, right?
Yeah.
I've always had this issue with the Prime Directive and the, bending or breaking of the Prime Directive. But like, if we even just go to last week's episode where Spock stole a starship, and I know you talked about last week's episode already, but as I was watching that, preparing for this episode, I was like, why isn't he being court-martialed? And I realized, the ends justify the means to some degree, but I thought her point of really, like, when you guys decide to follow your rules, it seems to be whichever way the wind's blowing, and I thought that was a really valid point.
Yeah, I mean, I have been on record as saying that I think, for the most part, the Prime Directive is bullshit, but...
It's a loose guideline at this point that no one's read in a long time.
Well, basically, I'm very much against the idea of using a rule to say that you cannot help people who need it. But
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, they show that. Also, we should point out that in the times that April violated it, it was not yet the Prime Directive. It was General Order 1, and it was not as big a deal in Starfleet until the events of the first episode of Strange New Worlds.
But, I mean, historically, and obviously this is before all the following Star Treks, but every captain has had serious issues with the Prime Directive.
Oh, yeah.
The whole...
Kirk breaks it like almost every episode of TOS. Yeah. Not quite, but it's close.
I have to go back because I need to know the first time it was mentioned in that context, because I'm willing to bet it was mentioned literally as we are breaking this. And that's, and I don't remember. Listeners,
right.
Somebody tell me. I know you will.
Yeah.
I'm on it. Memory Alpha will definitely tell me.
When it was first issued. But it probably, I hear you, you're 100% correct. It was probably mentioned in the context of breaking it, because it gets broken so often. Yeah.
That is mostly when it gets mentioned, is in the context of breaking it.
Yeah.
Right. So, did you follow what she was trying to do while she was trying to do it? Or was it until after, when she explained it to Una, that you went, oh yeah, okay, now I see what she was doing?
Do you mean...
that sounds like a strange question, but...
No, I guess I just wanted to clarify it. So are you saying, did you see what she was doing, like pointing out all the times that they don't actually enforce their laws?
Yeah.
While it was happening? Yeah. I think I did. I was tracking it because, again, this has always been an issue for me of, like... So there is such a thing in criminal prosecution, at least, that the prosecutor has a large amount of discretion, right? And that is necessary and appropriate. But I've always had a problem with Starfleet's, especially Prime Directive, but certain regulations, because they are very, very loose. And obviously, maybe you could always argue that's, because we're writing a TV show, I guess, and we need it to be interesting and dramatic. But I don't know. And most things in court, that's actually, like, when I'm talking to people who are getting ready to be witnesses for the first time, I always say, so if you've ever seen Law and Order or any courtroom, it's not like that. Like, it's not interesting. It's pretty boring most of the time. You just sit there, a lot of it's really bad. So I guess in that way, it makes sense. But I've always had a real issue. And I thought it was brilliant what she was doing, which was saying, you men primarily, decide when you want to follow your rules, and when there's this woman who is, now we found out at the end, spoiler alert, turned herself in, you've decided to prosecute her. I don't know. Interesting.
So the Prime Directive's first appearance in Star Trek, we've actually mentioned the episode on this episode today. It was Bread and Circuses.
Bread and Circuses.
Awesome.
In what context? Was it while they were breaking it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it was because it had been broken by the fact that the guy who had crash landed on the ship had, like, become part of the government of the planet, and
Right. That's cool. Thank you for looking that up. So was it kind of obvious to you what Nero was doing with her questioning?
I didn't know what she was doing.
Oh, okay.
You thought she was just going after April?
Yeah, I honestly did. I thought she was just like, these Starfleet people, they're pissing me off. I'm gonna show their hypocrisy. But, like, I wasn't sure how it was going to tie into helping Una.
Okay. All right. Because it seemed really strange to me that they all turned around and went, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, she's showing them that they don't follow their own laws. But if other people were not picking up on that right away, then maybe.
But beyond that, like, I wasn't
unreasonable.
sure that would actually work to, like, make an argument to say, oh, you didn't follow this law, so why should you follow this law? I feel like that doesn't actually work.
And I think, honestly, Una certainly was upset that they were going after who they believe is a really fine officer, April. She didn't want her lawyer going after this really fine officer that they all respected, and but I don't know, sometimes you got to break some eggs to make an omelet. And I don't think Nira cared as much about April's reputation post this hearing as everybody else, all the other officers felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we have this cut in where La'an is asking about how evidence is acceptable, and she thinks that we find out after she thinks that it's her personal log. But we get a nice little moment of Uhura telling her no.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I like that.
I thought it was great. She literally was like, "You're my friend. You're my mentor. I'm not going to let you ruin your career for this." Protection. Which is hard to do. I think if you're a newly minted ensign, it's hard to stand up to your superior officer and say, "This is wrong," like too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to do if you're a cashier and your manager's telling you to do things that shouldn't, much
Right.
less in the quasi-military organization.
100%.
That's why there's laws about coercion between employers and employees and levels. Okay. Right. So I want to just talk about the rest of the trial here, and then we'll get back to the big issues, the genetic modification issue and all that. So we have that beautifully cut together scene of Spock and Mbenga and La'an where they are giving their testimony. We get a nice little callback to the short trek that just fell out of my head when they're singing in the turbo lift.
Q&A.
Yeah.
And, he talks about the first time he met her was his first day, and that was obviously in that short track.
So continuity, always good. What did you guys think about using the idea that Una's influence has had this positive effect on people's lives, and that would have been lost or would be lost going forward? As opposed to a strategy of, you guys don't follow your own rules. It's a new strategy, different way of looking at things. What do you think about that?
I mean, I can see that where that one's going better than I can the you break your own rules. It feels like something that's more likely to actually work as an argument for someone.
I thought it was great. I thought, it was basically like, character witnesses showing what a good job she's done and how this is literally a fine officer that you're trying to drum out, It's great.
Yeah, it seemed like that was a little more of a Starfleet argument, maybe to say. But I think it worked in concert to me.
Yeah.
Pike's not allowed to be put on the stand. Oh, we have that lovely moment with Pike and Battelle. That was...
Yeah, when
that
she
was so good.
straight up tells him, I can't put you on the stand because they're going to ask you when you found out about Una, and that's a very valid point.
Yeah, then your Admiral April Everett, point to 2.0. You're the next one that gets to fall because of this. I thought they did a really good job with her because she was in a really bad position, right? Like, she's also a captain who has her orders, and she must be in JAG, right? Is that what they were trying to say?
Yeah.
I thought you don't want to like her because she's the one that arrests Una. She's the one, but then I thought, I don't know if you guys noticed this too, but her face when Nero is giving her closing argument where she's like literally switch sides, she's completely on Una's side at that point. I thought it was really great. Chef's kiss, masterfully done,
Yeah, she just has enough of a smile for you to be like, oh, yeah. And I don't know that she ever was not on Una's side.
Right.
Except as required.
Yeah.
It's reminiscent of Riker in Measure of a Man.
Yes.
Yeah. Which was also ridiculous, but that's a whole other issue.
I mean, That was so ridiculous, but it does lead to that incredible scene where Riker tells Data that he doesn't feel like he deserves to be part of the celebration, and Data tells him, "No, you are my friend, and you were only doing your duty." And
Right. I always felt like they just had a real low budget that week and couldn't hire another actor to come in.
Yeah.
They wanted to give Riker more lines, so they're like, I guess we make him the prosecuting attorney? I don't know.
And then, it had to be Picard who had the speech, well, there it sits, because that would not... that wouldn't have worked as well coming out of Riker's mouth as the defense.
No,
not that he couldn't have done
Riker's
that, but...
Pinocchio's strings have been cut was pretty good.
That was great. I mean, that was gut-wrenching, I felt like.
That whole... Yes, wonderful. Okay. Random piece of information about that, because, we don't do digressions on here. I found out super randomly on Twitter because of a conversation that was going on with Melinda Snodgrass, who wrote Measure of a Man, and some other people talking about it, and then somehow George R.R. Martin got brought into it, and apparently George R.R. Martin was the one who told Melinda Snodgrass to send in the spec script that became Measure of a Man.
Oh, wow.
Really?
I knew they were friends, but I did not know that.
No, I didn't either, because I actually got confirmation in the Twitter conversation. I was like, wait, everything stop. Are you telling me that the guy who created Game of Thrones told you to write one of the greatest episodes, or to send in one of the greatest episodes of Trek? And she's like, yes, that's exactly what happened. And I went, oh.
I mean,
cool.
It makes sense because he was a TV writer at the time. He was working on Beauty and the Beast. So it makes sense that he would,
But so there's your random trivia for whatever the week.
She's my boss, from Measure of the Man. We already talked about this.
Yeah.
That's
I thought you meant
yes,
Melinda Snodgrass was your boss in real life.
No,
Wow.
no, that would be real small world, right?
I was like, oh man, we should have asked her to be on.
You should have, yeah. To be fair, I did ask my best friend, who is an attorney, who is a huge Star Trek fan, if he wanted to come on with you guys. He has about as much, I think, desire to be on a podcast as maybe most people, but he was like, no, I think I'm good.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that kind of go,
yes.
Yeah.
That's why, in general, we tend to reach out to people who we know do podcasts already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, because they usually have microphones.
Yes. Although after COVID, that's kind of gone over.
That's fair, yeah. It's been a lot easier now after COVID.
Like, oh, you know what Zoom is? Awesome.
Yeah.
Right, back to that. So we get through Spock and Mbenga and Noonien Singh, and then we have Una on the stand. And we learn the story behind the flashback that we got at the beginning. And that she would have died were it not for finding what was essentially underground medical treatment. And I'm going to throw in the phrase back alley medical treatment because I'm going to be coming back to that. Okay?
Yeah.
But her family passed. What'd you guys think of that? That she ended up on that end of things.
I thought it was really interesting writing. I mean, I thought they had to do something to explain the relationship with Nira, so that made sense to me. And it also speaks to why, in my mind, it spoke to why Una Chin Riley was done hiding. She's been hiding since her family made her leave and go to this other city since she was a child, and then she's been hiding her entire career in Starfleet, and she just was ready to, however you want to say it, come out of the closet. And she was like, I'm done hiding who I am. Here you go. I don't know. That's how I took it. And I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, absolutely. Both parts there. Because, yes, it leads to that. And it does give us an explanation for the rift between her and Nira.
Which actually, in the context of what we've been talking about, that makes me wonder if this is a, early teenage love affair kind of situation. Maybe they weren't so much lovers as just, teenage dating. because it's not super clear how old she is. I was mid-teens at the oldest, and I would say younger than that. But
Yeah. I mean, it had to have been after the leg incident, right? And she looked early teens then, right?
Right.
Or maybe, I guess we just assume
it
was
might not
after.
have been after, because if the leg incident would make sense why they
Yeah.
had to hide it.
Could have been either way.
Yeah.
Could have been before or after, I guess. I just assumed when watching that it was after that they had, maybe they were hiding then, because they were in the city where people passed,
Right.
Well, no, I thought they said that they split up the colony. It was after the attack that she got involved in, and that was when her leg was broken.
Oh, yeah, I think...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because she got in the middle.
So it would have had to have been before she moved to the
Right.
other city.
So maybe they were too young for that to be picked up when they're adults. But, who knows?
Who knows?
Just popped in my head, so I said it, because, that's what a podcast is. All right. So, Una describes this as people having to conduct rituals in secret, and she talks about the genetic modification as tradition. Are we talking about religious practices? And what difference does that make? Does it make a difference?
I think that's a really good question because, I guess it depends on if there is a religious exemption for genetic modification. It sounds like there isn't, because Starfleet is so against genetic modification or genetic engineering that they have these specific rules. So it makes me feel like there isn't a religious exemption, but it's a good question because, you would think it maybe would be protected if it was part of their religion. I don't know.
You'd think, but yeah, it definitely doesn't seem that. And this is something that I've complained about a bit, because we've been dealing with the augment thing in all of those Star Treks in the last couple years, and it still just drives me nuts, this idea that because people used genetic engineering in the past for evil, that therefore it can never be good in any way.
Right. And I guess we don't know. Do we know specifically what genetic manipulation Una's been through, right? Like,
no,
we don't know.
No, we don't.
And this is everyone's, 101 argument for genetic manipulation is, okay, like, we're okay with certain changes. Like, if I know you talked about glasses in the last episode, but I had LASIK. If there would we not be okay, according to Starfleet, if they had just given me good eyesight? We were okay once I had bad eyesight that I can change it, right? But like, if they had just fixed it in utero, Starfleet's not okay with that. It's such a, a really fascinating, like, where is the line argument? Because we're okay with a lot of things that we do to change, braces and LASIK and plastic surgery, like whatever you want to talk about, we're okay with all of that. And you would assume Starfleet is
transplant.
I don't know.
Before we get back to the genetic thing, because there's a whole other thing to be had here. Okay. The best analogy that I could come up with in watching this and talking about the religious practices is circumcision. Whether you're looking at male circumcision or female circumcision. And usually in our society, although this is changing, male circumcision is generally acceptable. Female circumcision is never acceptable in our society. The wise and
probably
the
shouldn't be acceptable regardless of who you are, but that's a whole other thing that we don't need to get into right now.
Well, but that's the point, right? So you have the concept of male circumcision in the West is part of an accepted religion. It is part of a tradition that's existed for, thousands of years. All right. The practice of female circumcision is a religious tradition in some places that has existed for thousands of years. Okay. And admittedly, when we're talking about female circumcision, we are talking about means of controlling sexuality of women. There are other issues there. I do understand that. Don't think I don't know that. But there is... like I said, that's the only one I could come up with, and maybe there's a better example here.
And I think
in terms of religious body modification.
Part of the difference there is, though, in the U.S., the vast majority of male circumcision is not religious. It's just...
That's true. Now.
Yeah, now.
But that's only been that way for about 70 years, maybe?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right, well,
get
I'm
your
just
point.
putting that out there.
I do get your
Yeah.
point. I personally, not wanting to get too radical on this, personally think that regardless, it's mutilation of bodies and shouldn't be done to babies who can't say whether or not they want to have that procedure done. But that's a whole other thing.
Well, I've always thought that had to be done to the babies, because if you wait until the men are adults, they're going to say no.
That's fair.
Right.
As I explained the beginning of Judaism in my classes. Yeah.
I've had many friends recently have male children, and we have this discussion, and I'm always like, are you gonna, I don't bring it up, but it always comes up. It seems too weirdly.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm always like, why are you doing that? Because everybody says, well, I think we're going to get circumcised. And I'm just like, I don't understand why we're doing it. It's not scientifically better, it's not cleaner. That was when we didn't bathe every day, all day, it was a different time. I think there's a percentage chance for some sort of cancer that is slightly better if you're circumcised than if you're not. But I just don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you do that to your child? And it seemed like the men that I would talk to genuinely, their argument was, I want my son to look like me. And I'm like, that's a weird argument. Right?
Yes,
that's
that is.
strange. I don't know. We don't have to talk about this any further, but I just don't understand.
There is one issue, because I remember reading about one of the things that was being done to try to cut the spread of AIDS in sub-Saharan Africa was encouraging men to get circumcised because it was easier to transmit disease.
The infection would
in general, not just AIDS.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not...
wearing a condom also, does that.
Okay, but the reason we're talking about that there was lack of availability. Yeah.
I'm saying
But yes, there's other ways. So yeah, I don't know.
That just feels a bit like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Which is possibly the wrong metaphor to use in this instance, but
yeah. Having the Moyle toss out the baby with the. It's just so that Mel Brooks can make jokes. It's fine.
Right.
It's fine.
That's the whole purpose.
Okay.
Well, they don't actually use little guillotines,
No, I didn't think so. That would be a little more than you want. Right. Okay, so it's talking about genetic engineering, and then we'll finish up the trial because there's something else I want to talk about with the end of the trial. But right, okay. So genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is bad because of the eugenic hordes. Genetic engineering is good if you can stop cancer, heart disease,
everything else, medical advances.
Yeah. Where's the line?
Give people immune systems that can cure any disease by making your skin glow. I mean, that also feels like a good thing.
Doesn't it?
It's so strange what this issue has, is such a thing still in Starfleet, because you're right. Where is the line? What is the modification that we are going to be able to allow? Or do you simply have to wait until after you're born and mature past a certain age, so we know you're not going to be super good at whatever? Then we'll allow you to modify it. I don't know. I don't get it. I
mean, when you're talking about cancer, let's just use cancer as an example. Cancer is very obviously bad. It is in a literal sense malignant and a metaphorical sense. Okay, there aren't circumstances under which cancer is a positive in someone's life. I mean, you can have emotional growth, and I understand that, but the literal cancer, okay,
sure.
So, genetic engineering cancer out of humanity. Nobody's going to have a problem with that, or very few people are going to have a problem with that. Okay. Pick something that people think might be a quote-unquote problem, but isn't necessarily. Hait. Okay, that's a good one.
Down syndrome.
or down? Well,
That was where I went.
oh, really? Okay.
That was where I went. And I was talking about this with I spent the weekend with Nikki and Dom and with Jay down at their place, and we were talking about this, and there's no good way to get around that one, because technically speaking, Down syndrome is a genetic malformation.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that people with Down syndrome should not be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know? And who is to say that life, and we're not talking about a termination here, we're talking about making it so that this thing does not happen. You know, I don't know where you go with that.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere with that, and that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like, where do
Okay.
you draw that line? I don't know.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So I don't have an answer to this. I just
No.
yeah.
I wish I did.
And
I
there's-
mean, I think we'd be getting paid a lot better if we had all the answers to these.
Yeah.
You're getting paid?
I mean, I agree with you that there isn't a good answer to that, but I also don't think that because that can be a problem, we should not do any genetic engineering at all. I think that is also not the way to do it.
Oh, I agree. What I was getting at was, and the reason Down syndrome was a good example, I think, is because people live with that, and their lives are fine. They're not the same as they would have been without it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me, I'm going to get hate mail for this. To me, it makes sense to fix something that is very obviously a genetic abnormality. I'm not negating any of that. I maybe just sounded really terrible. I might cut that out, but
No, I understand what you're saying, and there's a very big difference between saying that perhaps we should make it so that someone that people do not have this abnormality,
Right.
or
it never happens. In
it
the first
never
place.
happens. There's a very different thing between making it so it never happens and saying we need to kill all the people with Down syndrome. That is not what you said, and not what you would
No.
say.
I'm saying the
You
opposite
can cut
of
that part out if you want.
No, I'm gonna leave all this because it's a tough
really
place
tough.
to go with it.
Yeah, it's really
You
tough.
know,
Now the really complicated part that'll get into my own personal thing is I'm on the autism spectrum. Many people are. Where do you fall on that? Because
You can do it with any single condition. I'm gay. What if, people didn't want to
exactly.
date, Yeah. And you can do it with literally anything. I'm blonde. What if everybody wanted to be brown hair? I mean, most people seem to think that being blonde is better. What if everybody wanted to be blonde?
But don't you have more fun?
I have so much fun, but I've never not been blonde, so I don't know if it's.
I just like to have hair. I don't care what color it is.
No,
I had
and
to lighten that.
eye color. I mean, there's literally so many. You can go literally everywhere with this conversation, and I think that's the pitfall, and also the fascination, right? Is that it is such a complex issue. I've had friends that had, I mean, this, if are we going to go into the actual genetic modification talk?
Yeah. No, we
absolutely.
can. Yeah.
So I have friends that had in vitro, but next level in vitro, where they literally had to go choose which egg. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not just regular, and then do you want a boy or a girl? Do you want to, it really becomes very, and they had already decided, I don't think this is too much information, so you have no idea who I'm talking about, but they had already decided.
I was gonna say you didn't give names.
They thought they wanted, full stop, the best viability, right? The egg that had the percentage viability best, and that happened to be a male, and they wanted that, but I mean, I think it would have been a question if the best viability was a female egg, and you know what I mean? It's just an interesting, it can go everywhere. This conversation can go anywhere. So and it's very controversial, it's very complex. Anyway.
Yeah, and we're not the first Star Trek discussion to run into this by any
This isn't the
means,
first time
but...
we've talked about this on this
No.
show.
No, but it's so spot on for this episode that
Yeah.
I just...
Yeah.
Yeah. I And so then is a blanket ban the way to go?
No.
And
Blanket bans in
No, it's
general
not.
are not the way to go.
Yeah, I'm going to answer that.
This whole episode's about
Yeah.
blanket bans not being the way to go, right?
And 100 years ago, 50 years ago, if someone had presented the means to genetically modify homosexuality out of the human species, then people would have said that was fine.
Yep.
I mean, obviously not everybody,
Right.
but the consensus, the idea would have been that was fine. We are not so far out from... Okay, plug for History with the Szilagys. We've been talking about various... for Pride Month, we've been talking about various gay figures in history, or I should say LGBTQIA plus history. But Jay did one on Alan Turing. It was last week or the week before. And he was chemically castrated by order of the court.
Yep.
In the 50s. So of course that would have been acceptable at that time. And, so here I say, okay, we know that Down syndrome is a genetic abnormality. Well, 100 years from now, what are we going to know about that?
Right.
For all we know, that's the next step in human evolution. I know that's maybe pushing it, but you get where I'm going. It's what is appropriate changes.
Well, and society evolves, right? Like you were saying with homosexuality 50 years ago, it would have probably been eradicated if they could have. And now I hope people would have a different viewpoint on
There
that.
are certainly
And
people today who would think that it should be, but yes.
there
I
are
mean,
people,
God,
right?
yes.
But I would hope
I would like to think that it
as a
wouldn't.
society, we are hopefully evolving past that, what we would, I think most of us can, at this point, consider a very discriminatory and horrible view. But like, you're right, you're 100% right, Chrissie, that like 50 years ago that would have not happened. If they could have gotten rid of it, they probably would have.
Let me say 70 years ago. When I say 50 years ago,
well,
I don't
just
know about
because
you
it
guys,
feels
but I think that 50 years ago was the 50s.
easy,
Right,
math.
yes,
yeah,
same.
no, it's easy because I think
70 years ago.
that is, we all do that. We think of 2000 for some reason instead of the fact that we're actually in 2020. But yeah,
You're millennial, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 50 years
it's
ago
all
was the
millennials
70s.
are.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's 70
realized
years ago. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, I'm sure 50. There were people now that think that, but
Yes.
not as many who are in charge of things.
Thankfully.
Hopefully.
Right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listeners, we don't have an answer to the genetics thing, but
I bet everybody tuning in
Feel
thought
free.
we would solve it, and now they're very
oh,
disappointed.
I'm sure they did.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
If I could solve that, I'd be running for office.
Now they're very disappointed in us.
Yeah, but I'll say, listeners, we want to hear what you think. I'll do the call to comments. All right, so back to the trial. Pasulk gets up there and basically not only tries to throw the book at Una, but also then tries to create a conspiracy with Pike, which I guess might as well catch as many people as you possibly can in this if you're going to try to make the point.
Well, in the way he did it, did you all not feel, and maybe I was the only one, but I felt like almost there was like some sort of indication of future Pasulk doesn't like Pike and this is his vendetta against him thing. Did you feel that way? Because it was very personal, it felt like to me, about Pike. It turned into less the Una trial and obviously and more the Pike trial.
Yeah, it did seem that way.
hadn't
I'd like
thought
to
of
know
that.
the backstory of Pasulk.
Yeah, I hadn't thought
Like,
of that.
he may just be violently anti-genetic engineering for some reason that we don't know. But yeah, I would very much like to see the backstory.
I wonder if he's one of the maybe not a logic extremist, but one of the people who is very anti-human. And then that would make sense
And that's
as to
why
why
he's
he has
a
a problem with
former
Sarek,
colleague of Sarek's.
and he has a problem with Spock.
Because he's
Right.
half. Yeah.
I wonder. And I could see, Vulcans, they would take genetic engineering as, like, very logical thing, like...
You'd think, yeah.
But
they must not, because they're in the Federation, so therefore they don't.
I don't think we know anything about any Vulcan modifications ever. Have there ever been any? No.
No. But I can't imagine that Vulcans would, stand in front of the potential to, say, remove cancer from their entire species and not do it.
Right. You would.
So.
But I think the cancer's probably just not a problem because they can cure it as soon as it happens.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't think of earlier. We started to go in that direction because you were talking about curing, like, eyesight and stuff, and then we went off on a different tangent entirely. Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's something, it has to indicate a problem first. And then how do you define a problem? Oh, God.
It changes, right? Like,
I'm not a philosopher.
Yeah, right. Not having penicillin was a huge problem before penicillin, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, you know what? Vaccines.
Yeah.
That's a great example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Polio. Forget any modern examples because we have a lot of modern examples. But, polio. People didn't get polio vaccinations and then kids died or kids were paralyzed. And it was because they were, afraid of it. Oh, okay. Anyway. Right. So, but then the conspiracy falls apart because Neera does this beautiful thing where she hands Battelle a physical book because we have to have a physical book. I'm hoping that was just a nice little nod to Samuel Cogley.
I want to think that Samuel Cogley is watching this on TV as it happens and just cheering.
Yes.
Should I know Samuel Cogley?
He's the lawyer from the TOS episode Court Martial.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So here's the thing I was going to say. Lawyers love props. They really do. I mean, that rang true for me. So, yeah.
Oh, it was beautifully done. It's just that I feel like anytime we see a hard copy book on Star Trek, there needs to be justification. Is that, and that maybe I take it too far, but no, because they've presented it that there needs to be justification if there's a hard copy book. 15 pads on your desk, fine, but... so then she presents Una as having sought asylum, which is a great way to wrap this up.
Yes.
But.
So.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a tangent. But.
Please do, because I have a tangent here as well. Maybe it's the same.
Continues, probably not. This continues a thing that has been happening a lot since Star Trek came back. Started with Discovery and continues on, where they are conflating, and they constantly do it, the Federation and Starfleet.
Yes.
Why would you be getting asylum with Starfleet? That's like going to the Navy and saying, I'm getting asylum with the U.S. Navy. You should be getting asylum with the Federation.
Yes. That's exactly the note I had. She sought asylum from the Federation within the Federation.
No, and I actually
what the hell? It doesn't make sense.
So I thought the same thing. I didn't know how they were gonna get out of this, right? Like we have, as far as I knew, Rebecca Romaine was gonna continue on this show, right? So they needed,
we
needed to get out of this. But I actually thought the asylum issue was, I thought it was just, and I think this is actually how they meant to use it. It's just an analogy. It's like a legal theory, because you seek asylum from a completely different venue, like you're saying, right? Like, we don't handle, I work in criminal courts, we do not handle asylum cases. It is a completely different area, and I don't work in JAG, just to be clear, so I can't say, but I very strongly doubt that the JAG, the Judge Advocate General, does a lot of asylum cases. That's pretty much, I think,
highly doubt
immigration's bailiwick.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I just used it in my mind as a... it was the theory of asylum. She wasn't actually like claiming asylum, because that's the wrong court in my mind.
Right. Right.
But that's the thing that we've constantly been doing in Star Trek since it came back. I feel like it was not as big a thing in the 90s, but now they say Starfleet all the time when they mean the Federation, and it bugs me a bit.
Right. Yeah. And it is actually, I think for people that don't know a lot, I'm not saying I know a lot about the law, but especially for people that don't know a lot about the law, it's easy to do. It's easy to conflate criminal with civil and, like all those different areas of the law. Like people do it literally all day, every day. And so I get it, but like this was a very wrong venue for an asylum appeal in my mind. But, here we are. So I just used it more as a theory in my mind.
Which, yeah, you end up having to go, okay, so this is her analogy. I think it would have been better to come at it from religious tolerance grounds, but that's me and maybe not the point they wanted to make, so fine. But yeah, it got us where we needed to be. It's fine.
Right.
But yeah, that's you know what? I was about to say that's like somebody from I don't know, Wyoming seeking asylum in Michigan, and then I realized
we may be doing that.
There are some reasons they might want to.
Yeah, people might be doing that.
So maybe it does work.
Yeah, maybe we are wrong, and this is just they're foreshadowing the future.
Okay, this is gonna get ahead of things, but let's get to my point. Okay, so we've said the resolution doesn't really deal with the problem. The asylum actually, within the context of the analogy that I read on this, which was the analogy of whether or not abortion should be legalized. Okay. And if we take that as the issue, then going to the military actually could grant asylum because the U.S. military allows women to get abortions.
They actually pay for the transport.
Yes, if you're
have
in
a yeah. If you're in like a southern state that doesn't allow it, they'll pay for you to go to a state that does.
Yeah. So we know that this doesn't solve the problem because the prejudice exists a century later. As we were talking about at the beginning, we have to have this end up so that it's still a problem that Julian Bashir has been genetically modified.
And they do a good job of pointing that out, specifically by saying this is a technicality. I wish we could have done more. And, the lawyer says it's okay, it's a step, and makes a very eloquent, leaving remarks and everything.
Yes. Here's the thing, though. This is functionally, when we're looking into the future with Bashir, we can say that he had, just to use the phrase, a back alley genetic modification, right? And the Jack Pack all had back alley genetic modifications. And if genetic modification were legalized and regulated, what happened to the Jack Pack would not have happened.
Right.
The same way women wouldn't die from back alley abortions if it's legal and available from medical professionals. So I don't know if they intended this as an abortion allegory, but I think it is in some ways.
I think that makes sense.
That's what I have to say about that. But
and I think, like I said earlier, they did a really good job of not pigeonholing it to one group, but maybe that was part of what they were thinking of speaking to, the issue.
I read an interview with Amy Tan talking about how the Joy Luck Club is used in English classes, and she gets letters from people, and she hears from teachers and students, and they have come up with interpretations and understandings of things that she never even thought of. So, intention or not, maybe it still stands. That's the real point. But, yeah. Any other thoughts on this before I let Thad loose on uniform design? Because we got to end on a high note after that.
Yeah. I was gonna. If it wasn't on there, I still would have done it.
Oh, I know. Well, let's put it on there. But that's why I put it last, because I knew this was going to be very heavy, and then you can talk about how wonderful the uniforms were.
Yeah. I'll just go back to what I said in the beginning, that it was a wonderful episode, and I am very happy to be speaking about such a good episode. I think it's a joy to think about it with you guys and talk about it, but what a fantastic episode. I teared up several times.
Yeah,
no, I love the episode.
Not that the tearing up is the point. The conversation is the point. And if one person is caused to think differently about things because of this, then I guess that's great.
Yeah. And I'm sure people will have
assuming they agree with me.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, it's the conversation, it's the discussion, it's the philosophy, all of those things that come out of this. All right, Thad.
All right.
Those uniforms were effing awesome.
They were amazing. So yeah, we got some really cool dress uniforms here, which did a great job of blending the Strange New World style with the TOS dress uniform style, and also included a bit of the Discovery uniforms with the epaulette style things on the shoulders.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And they were accurate as far as I could tell. They were accurate to the rank of the officer too,
So the rank. I'm gonna talk about how I'm very confused about the rank indicators on these uniforms in general. That's been going on since season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Pike's uniform as a captain has 2 thick bars and 1 thin bar, which seems to line up with TOS, where Kirk had 2 squiggly lines and a broken squiggly line in the middle.
Did you by chance, and this is just a side note, Battelle, who is in dress uniform,
she also has 2 thick and 1 thin.
But you see how are you saying that on top of the outside rim, that's just a rim?
The rim is just a rim, yes.
Okay. She does have 1 thin on the inside and 2 thick on the inside.
She has two thick surrounding a thin, yes. Yep. That seems to match up with Kirk in TOS, who had 2 braids and 1 broken braid in the middle. That, all well and good.
Mm-hmm.
Una, who is officially established as a lieutenant commander in this episode, has 2 thick bars. Well, that doesn't make sense. Because what would a full commander wear?
Yeah.
Thick
keeps
bars.
Yeah.
You get a thin bar if you're a captain. No.
And then the problem continues down from that. Spock is a lieutenant with a thick and a thin. And so is La'an. So these ranks don't. Once we go below captain, the rank insignia doesn't make a lot of sense. Because if we look at it for the TOS style, it was the full commander was 2 squiggles. Spock was a full commander. Lieutenant commander was a squiggle and a broken squiggle. That was Bones and Scotty. Then a lieutenant was 1 squiggle. We're talking Sulu and Uhura. If we had seen a lieutenant junior grade, which I don't think we ever did, it would be a broken squiggle. And then an ensign had nothing. But Uhura has... Actually, I don't know Uhura's uniform. Now, we don't see Uhura in a dress uniform, do we?
No, she doesn't go.
When she's a cadet, but not now.
Yeah, that cadet uniform was different. We just have... The rank insignia doesn't make sense, and I'm
having a hard time finding Spock in his dress uniform. Like, I can't find any pictures of it.
The Trek Core review of the episode has one. Here,
I just want to look at them when you're talking about them, because I thought I remembered I included the rim, I think, as a 4th line. Like there's 3, 4 for captain. The Admiral has 2 thins and
the Admirals are, I assume, a separate thing.
Yeah, but you're right. The Una has 2 not if we're just talking about, we're ignoring the rim, she does have 2 thick
and
then it looks like Spock has 1 thick and 1 thin.
Yep.
So we just really don't understand what,
right, and
we don't know.
And these shoulder things correspond to the same bars that they have on their wrists in their regular uniforms. They're just a lot harder to see because they decided that they should be the same color as the uniform, which I don't understand. But, I assume the Admiral uniforms are a separate sort of thing, because you'll notice some of them have really thick bars in those. So I'm assuming, Admirals are just different, have a completely different arrangement, and yes, the number of bars indicates how high up an Admiral you are.
Yeah. The center admiral in the panel
Has
seems to
one really
have,
thick bar surrounded by two thin ones.
yeah, the most. Yeah, she has the most bars, I think, of anybody we've seen.
Yeah.
Which makes sense if she's the
Yeah.
ranking.
Yeah, the presiding. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, the uniforms look amazing, but I do not understand the ranks, and I haven't since season 1.
And so Mbenga must also be a lieutenant. Is that what we're...
Oh, and no, and Benga's has 2 thick bars, so he would be a lieutenant commander based on what we know from Una.
Okay, so we just don't know what a full commander would be.
Right, but then also Chapel has 2 thick bars on the sleeves of her uniform, and she can't possibly also be a lieutenant commander, can she?
I mean, she's a medical spy. She could do what she wants, I think. She and Mbenga are medical spies.
Yeah, so anyway, I feel like it almost seems like they made a mistake with one of the uniforms in season 1, and then they're just rolling with it since then.
You're like, well, it's too late now.
Yeah. I just don't really understand exactly what they're trying to do. But anyway, the dress uniforms look amazing. I hope I can get my hands on one at some point.
I want one of those glittery gem stars that like Captain Battelle wears.
Yeah, so
like
those are commendations. They're similar to like what we call the fruit salad on.
I want one of those. So
yeah,
someone can. Yeah,
they look good.
Yeah,
I'm sure they will be selling those.
Yeah,
I am positive that I am willing to bet that we'll get actual licensed pins of those. As far as the uniforms, we will almost certainly get an unlicensed version that we can buy too.
Yeah.
You know, if they do those pins right, they'll sell each piece of it so they can be put together. Because if you look at them...
That would be cool, but I don't think we're going to get that.
Well, they'd make more money that way. Of course, we've established Paramount doesn't know how to make money, so... Okay.
Yeah, that was the whole first part.
No, because I'm willing to bet that Fansets is going to make pins, but they will probably do a different pin for each character.
Yeah. So, we keep having canon connections on the list, but it's always everything, so...
Right. Like, what was not a canon connection, I guess?
All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can listeners find you online if they want to continue the conversation?
I would love to continue the conversation. I think on Twitter, although I'm rarely on it, but it's JAA5280. Similarly, my last name on Instagram, it's Anderson5280. But yeah, like I talked about, I'm one of the admins of the Federation group on Facebook, so please look us up there. But this has been wonderful. Thank you guys for having me. This is my first time on, and this has been a really thoughtful conversation, so thanks.
Yes, it was fun.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It was a blast.
Yeah. And it caused me to get caught up on the Strange New Worlds because I was a little behind the first season. So now I am completely caught up. So that's the gift.
There you go.
Well, we're glad we gave you that opportunity.
You did. The impetus was there. Yeah.
All right. Thad, where can people find you when you are not advocating for blanket bans being a bad thing? That was a really roundabout.
I mean, I feel like I would frequently do that.
Okay.
But when
maybe while you're doing that then.
Or while I am. You can find me on Twitter. Best place to find me is @Tyrannicus. That's TYRANICUS. You can also hear me on the podcast I do with my friend Carl called License to Spiel. That's license spelled with a C like the British do it. Or we talk about James Bond and James Bond adjacent things. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Chrissie, where can people find you when you are not trying to figure out who spilled the beans?
It's good to know that information. All right. Well, in addition to here on Infinite Diversity, you can find me on History with the Szilagys here on the BQN, that twice-weekly short history podcast I do with my fellow historian partner, Jason. And I'm also happy to chat about our shows in the BQN Collective on Facebook. And I'm on Twitter at the Goddess Livia, that's TheGoddessLivia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics.
Don't forget all our other great shows on BQN.
What shows are on BQN, you ask? Well, here's a rundown of some podcasts you might be interested in. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast covering all of Trek, hosted by Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin. Bargain Bin Gamer, a YouTube show hosted by Davey, a self-proclaimed gamer who specializes in reviewing and showcasing affordable video games. If you're lost in the Delta Quadrant, check out The Captain's Couch, a Star Trek Voyager podcast hosted by Jeremiah sitting on Janeway's Ready Room couch. Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast showcasing films you probably missed but should definitely check out, hosted by Mark, Matt, and Laz. Beam Aboard the Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast covering all of TNG, hosted by Amy, Joe, Rhea, and Kevin. History with the Szilagys, a snippet of historical events from around the world, hosted by Chrissie and Jason. For the newest Trek coverage, check out Infinite Diversity, hosted by Chrissie and Thad. Test your Trek knowledge with Trexperts Quiz, a Star Trek quiz show hosted and written by Davey. Union Federation, covering all things Star Trek and the Orville, which we all know is really a Star Trek show, hosted by Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley. Spill the Tea with What's the Tea, Bev, a Trek current events and fan interview show hosted by Christos. And for our Patreon members, we have The Hive Mind, BQN's monthly roundtable discussion with hosts and listeners. It's Green, a cornucopia of topics hosted by Mark. And Amy's Math Moments, a quick look at math moments in Star Trek, hosted by Amy. We know you have a choice of podcasts to choose from, and we thank you for listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
So, thank you so much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Mark White for the great show art. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast player, and don't forget to rate and review us there as well.
If you want to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at BQN Podcasts, or our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of the BQN podcasts in our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. When you next hear from us, we'll be talking about the next episode of Strange New Worlds. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Until then, peace and long life.
And tomorrow and tomorrow.
Will that happen tomorrow?
No.
No. And we're going straight from a Latin title to a Shakespeare title.
Ah, yeah.